Dreams are poetry. They have poems in them. There's a poem in every dream. You just need to listen for it. There's a whole new generation, right? Look, you coming up with this curiosity and interest and real dedication to dreams as a valuable resource. So that's really exciting to see.
Working with sensory awareness is a way of connecting thoughts and emotions to enhance wellness and facilitate healing. Sensory awareness engages the nervous system to mobilize our inherent healing capacity. This is the first step in becoming an embodied human being. Today's guest, Susan Ackerman Joseph, uses somatic practices in her dream work. She teaches people how to involve all of their senses in working with their dreams for greater healing and creativity. She is an amazing person, very joyful, very creative, and I'm so excited to talk to her today about some of her dream work experiences and just chit-chat about dreams. Hi, Amina.
I listened to some of your podcasts and I just love your enthusiasm.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love doing it. I just love talking about dreams.
So I was always a dreamer as a child. I remember dreams I had when I was 5 years old. And I remember themes and recurring dreams I used to have as a child. I was a really big dreamer. And I was always a creative person and interested in all kinds of things, mysterious and esoteric. And dreams fell into that category for me. And I always wrote them down. Like, I don't remember when I started writing down my dreams, but maybe when I, as young as a teenager. I mean, I've always written down my dreams. I've always noticed my dreams. And at some point, I don't remember exactly when it was, I just started working with my dreams. And there's a place where it really started for me big time. And that's when I started working with Etya Ruth as a creative collaborator. And that was in about 2008. So before then, dreams were always part of my life. You know, I would share dreams with people, talk about dreams. I would read dream interpretation books. I would think about dreams, but I didn't know that dream work was a thing that you could do. And I met Etya, and we just had that instant kind of connection with each other. Our kids were in school together. It was a parochial day school. So she and I were like the two arty moms, right? Everybody else was really religious. And she and I kind of recognized each other as the arty moms. And Etya was a dream worker and an artist. And at the time, she had just completed or was studying embodied imagination with Robert Bosniak. And she invited me to collaborate with her on a play she was doing, and she needed somebody to do the music and sound. So that was my first foray into working with dreams specifically for a creative project. And this play was called Box Window Door. And I worked with Etya and her director, Angela Grillo, who's another fabulous dream worker. And the three of us together, our rehearsals would be dream sharing. And then Etya was the writer. So the material mostly came from her dreams. But in our process, either there might be recurrent images or there might be things in our dreams that related to the three of us. I think one of us had a dream about three women in a boat. And so we just started working with our dreams and using our dream and material to create this theatrical production that involved words and music and imagery. And through that, I was introduced to embodied imagination as a type of dream work. Are you familiar with embodied imagination?
Yes, but I would love for you to explain it just so like the listeners can like fully know what you mean by that.
Yeah, well, I'm not the expert on embodied imagination, right? I'm just the recipient of great practitioners. And it's a dream work modality that invites you to really sense into elements of the dream in a way that you can embody that, right? So if you have an animal in your dream, you know, let's say there's a cat in the dream, what does it feel like to be the cat? Can you sink into that, the physicality of the cat, the mood of the cat, right? What does it feel like to embody the cat? And through that process, right, there's insight from the dream itself. You get gifts of the dream. And it's very powerful. And the irony of that, and this is a little digression, is that many years later in my personal journey, I ended up becoming a somatic practitioner. So part of my work is I'm a somatic healer, and I credit my discovering that and connecting with that very much with having learned about embodied imagination and this embodied practice of working with image for deeper understanding and healing. So that's like, one of those, our life has an arc, and it's just amazing how certain milestones help guide us along. And so I could never have told you in 2008 when I started working with Etya that in 2023 I would be a somatic experiencing practitioner. And yet maybe it was meant to be, because all the science kind of guided me to this embodied way of practicing with dreams. So that was Box Window Door. And that was really my first introduction, 2008. In 2012, we took a piece of that play to the Dream Conference in Berkeley. And that was my first introduction to IASD. And that was a life-changing experience for me, for sure. I'm sure you can appreciate that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I loved it. Like when I went for the first time, I was just so shocked to see that like there's so many people that are starting to take interest in dreams and research dreams. And I love how it was like the science, the art, and the spirituality all combined. It was honestly so beautiful. So I love that they have that and that we're kind of building this community. And I was surprised to see that Dreamwork is still so new and so niche. So I'm excited to see what happens in the future with all that.
Yes. And it's so much less niche than it used to be.
Yeah, I can imagine.
There's a whole new generation, right? Look, you coming up with this curiosity and interest and real dedication to dreams as a valuable resource. So that's really exciting to see. It's really, and I think that's in large part due to just technology. Social media, the way that people just connect with it, the fact that there are multiple dream podcasts now. I mean, that's amazing. And it used to be nothing. There used to be no resources. There were dusty books that you could go to, right? And that tell you that, when you dream of a pipe, it's a penis. I mean, right? It's not like that anymore.
Freud.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, and they laid the foundation for what we're doing today. So I still value the progression of dream research and understanding. It's kind of interesting, I've noticed in Freud and Jung's time, it seemed like there was some interest, and even beyond that, like in ancient Egypt and, cultures that used it for spiritual practices. And then it kind of fell off, and Western culture and modern science kind of didn't really give it much validity. And now it's kind of starting to come back again. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah, it's funny you should mention that because I'm Jewish, and every week there's a story from the Bible that we study. And this week's story was the story of, the past couple of weeks are about Joseph the dreamer and all about his dreams. So that was the big story this week in our studies was about Joseph the dreamer. Yeah. In fact, my husband and I were joking that, I'm into dreams and I married a man whose last name is Joseph. So
that is
coincidence or mystery. But the story, and I'm really not the expert on the story of Joseph at all, but he was one of 12 brothers. His father was Yaakov, and Yaakov's father was Abraham. His brothers were jealous of him because he was the father's favorite. And they took him and they threw him in a pit to try to get rid of him because Joseph was a little bit of a braggart. And he actually had a dream where the stars are bowing down to the moon. And this really might be slightly inaccurate. I might not be remembering correctly. And he interpreted as his brothers would one day be bowing down to him. And so they didn't like that. And so they threw him in a pit and told their father that this boy was eaten by wild animals. So his father, Yaakov, spent his whole life grieving for this boy. Meanwhile, Joseph is rescued by a courtier of Pharaoh and ends up coming to the attention of Pharaoh because of his ability to interpret dreams. And there's lots of details in the story. There's a whole other piece to the story that I'm not going to get into because I don't want to get it wrong. And eventually, Pharaoh retrieves Joseph from jail. He had been imprisoned. And he retrieves Joseph from jail, hearing that, there's this interpreter of dreams. And Pharaoh was having these horrible dreams. There was one dream where there were 7 fat cows and then 7 lean cows who then ate the fat cows. And then there was one where there were 7 ears on the stalk of corn and then 7 shriveled ears on the stalk of corn. And Pharaoh was very upset about these dreams. So he retrieves Joseph from jail and, says, I hear you're an esteemed and a renowned dream interpreter. Tell me, what do these dreams mean? And Joseph says, well, there's going to be a famine in the land and you need to prepare. And the famine will last for 7 years. And as long as you're prepared, you'll survive. And that's what happened, is there was a famine in the land. And so after that, Joseph became one of Pharaoh's esteemed, like he was his right-hand man. He was like the vice pharaoh. He was the big boss in the land. And then the story goes on about how his brothers come back and he reconciles with them. But the interpretation of dreams is both what got him into trouble and also saved him. Some people didn't like his interpretation, and other people, the pharaoh, really relied on it. I guess nothing's really changed with dream work.
Can't make everybody happy, I guess.
That's right.
I wonder what his methods of dream interpretation were.
For Joseph, it was divine. It was his communication with the divine. So it was a gift from God, and it was these messages come from the divine, the dreams. I think that's the most beautiful relationship with dreams, to consider them as a spark of divinity that comes to us with information.
Yeah, that's true. I definitely relate to that. I think some dreams that I've had are they feel so much bigger than me that I'm like, there's no way I could have thought of this or get ideas like this or, and I've had dreams, heal me from things and things like that. So I think we all have a little bit of that. I believe that some dreams are, our daily life processing things, and some dreams are more divine. So I see it as definitely there's different types of dreams, and we can all experience that too, to some degree.
For sure. I used to be a daily dreamer. And it got to the point where it was exhausting. It would be exhausting to remember my dreams or write down my dreams because it was just too much. And what's happened over time, and I don't know why, is I know I dream every day because I wake up with the vestiges in my dreams, but I really only remember, I feel like, the big dreams now. When I remember a dream, I feel like, okay, I'm remembering it for a reason. There's a reason I'm remembering this dream. And I also find that my dreams are almost episodic, or where I'll have the same dream or the same quality of dream over a period of time as I'm negotiating whatever I'm negotiating. And so that's really changed my dream work practice, because I don't get into the details every day. I'm really into the whole arc of a story, the whole arc of development. I think that comes from being an older person too. Being able to track things over time and see how they evolve over time is really fascinating.
How do you think your dreams have changed over time, other than the fact that you remember the bigger ones now? Have you noticed a change in the type of dreams that you have, or the feeling?
Yeah, well, I know that when I was young, I used to have a recurring dream of not being able to see clearly, which was developmentally appropriate as an adolescent, right? We don't see anything clearly. I don't have that recurring dream anymore. I feel like my dreams are, in a way, more settled and mundane, but I'm also more settled and mundane. I guess my dreams are so much just a part of my everyday life that when I do remember a dream, it's really exciting. If I have a big dream, and I have so many resources for working through dreams. I'm in collaborative groups and I'm friends with dream workers. So dreams are just such a normal part of my life that they're integrated in a way. And because I have become more of an episodic dreamer, and also as my other practice have expanded, I don't just rely on dreams for the kind of information I would rely on dreams for. So I have a lot of practices that support the whole treasure chest that comes from unconscious material. Right. So I work with dreams. I work with the I Ching. I work with tarot. I work with just what I observe outside in the world the waking dream. I work a lot with the waking dream as well. And so I feel like this holistic approach relieves me of that burden of remembering and working through my dreams every day, because it can be burdensome. It can feel exhausting. I went through a period before last year for about over a year where I literally had the same dream all the time of going to conferences or being in hotels, being in these public spaces and teaching. And last year was a big year for me in that regard. I went to the Dream Conference. I taught 2 workshops and I did the sonic art installation. And that was a lot, right? That was a lot of space holding, which I was like really excited to do. And I had to travel to go there, right? And in addition, this past year in my work as a somatic practitioner, I've been doing my own training and also assisting trainings out of town. So I've been doing a lot of traveling and teaching, and those dreams have softened, right? Since the summer when all of that traveling and teaching settled, and I had a whole year of it, I'm not having those dreams anymore. So that's like a big relief because those dreams, I was like, oh my God, I'm having this dream again.
I feel like dreams can push us in the direction that, our life needs to go. And then it kind of, kind of holds our hand and then checks in on us. And like, it kind of reflects what we're going through at the time. So yeah, that makes sense.
And I knew it consciously. I'm like, okay, I have to have this dream again. I know I'm going to be traveling. I know I'm going to be doing these things.
I want to hear a little bit about your creative projects. How have you taken inspiration from dreams, and what's your process like into turning that into art or videos or music or whatever creative projects you're working on?
So it depends whether I'm working on my own or collaboratively. So I do a lot of creative collaboration. As a creative, that's like my big thing. I love to collaborate. I think what we make together is just so much more exciting than what I can do by myself. Also, when you're working with dreams collaboratively, it deepens the process very much, right? You get perspectives and you get doors opening and you get support, right? You get a whole lot of other stuff that happens. And especially when dream material starts connecting into collective material. I think it's easier for me to just talk about this going chronologically backwards than forwards. So I wrote to you and I said, I really enjoyed your interview with Willem because he spoke about, right, dream sharing, which is part of this. So one of the biggest and most satisfying projects I've done, I've been doing these sonic installations for the art show at the Dream Conference, where we basically create the soundtrack. So when you go to see the art and you hear music playing in the art space, I produced that. Not by myself. I could never do that by myself. But so how that worked, the last one we did was the Dreaming Together sonic installation. And it's all about the value and importance of sharing dreams. That project was inspired by the work of Tony Ten Fingers. He's a Lakota elder and activist. And he teaches about sharing dreams. And he teaches about the practices of his community that they wake up in the morning, they share their dreams, or the practice of their community of they will go outside at night and dream together. And we recorded Tony sharing some of his dream stories. And then I also invited dreamers from the IASD community to send me vocal recordings of their dreams. And then I'm part of a music community, an international online music community called CCMixter. And we have a sister site called Mixter Plus. We share the vocal recordings of these dreamers and their dreams. And then our community members remix them to music. And so we create this beautiful body of music that's diverse, sonically diverse. There's all kinds of musicians and producers who are part of this community. And then we streamed it. And, when you do that kind of collaborative work, I think it was Bob Dylan said, I'll let you be in my dream if I can be in yours. Right? You join the dream, and then the dream also becomes something bigger, both as a creative, right? You get the inspiration from the dream, but then for the dreamer to hear their dream set in music, the tone, right? Music changes the feel of everything. So you have one dream, it's set to something upbeat. It sounds like it's going to be like an escape caper. Or you have some kind of ambient down tempo and all of a sudden it becomes dark and scary. So music is really, really powerful for dream work and working with dreams because it resonates in our bodies. And once you have that resonance, then something different can emerge, right? When you can feel into what does that feel like? What's the sense of the dream? It goes beyond language. And even trying to explain a dream with words can be very restrictive. It can prevent the gift of the dream from being clear, because the words may not necessarily comport with the feeling of the dream. Music, nonverbal ways of expressing the dream circumvent the inhibition that language can create for us. Of course, language also helps us connect things, and it's how we communicate with each other in a very specific way. And it also helps bridge, right? It helps bridge that understanding from the sensory experience to the cognitive experience. So language is important, but music and image also help expand the experience.
Yeah. Sometimes if I don't have like a full picture of my dream and it feels like very important or it has a certain emotion to it, I'll just draw. I mean, I don't have any musical talents, but I'll doodle it or like add colors or do something abstract to honor the dream. And sometimes that fits the dream better than just writing it down in words.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sketching or drawing a dream is really, really helpful. So I do that too. My notebooks have words, they have sketches.
What about some of your personal creative projects that you have brought forth from dreams into waking reality?
Yeah, well, the biggest one is the album that I released, Songs of Dreams. I can't believe that was 5 years ago that I released that. And a lot of those songs were even right from before that time. Personally, when I work with dreams, I use image and language. I am a writer, and so language is accessible to me. Dreams are poetry. They have poems in them. There's a poem in every dream. You just need to listen for it. It's there. And songs are poems sent to music. Because of my involvement with this community, I've had a way to make music out of my dreams, my dream poems.
That's awesome. Which elements of the dream do you take? Is it like the melody itself or the lyrics or both?
It's lyrics and sound. And sometimes the lyrics are about the dream itself, and sometimes they're about what I understand from the dream. Like I had a dream. The first song on my album is called Breathe. And in the dream, I'm in a speedboat and I'm going into a cave in the speedboat. And I did some work with a dream worker at the time. And she helped me understand the boat as a sensing vessel. And that became a lyric in my song, right? A sensing vessel. What a beautiful image for this boat. It's a sensing vessel on the water. What is the water but the emotional realm and the unconscious and the depths? And here I was, this sensing vessel. Like, that's so beautiful. So that became a lyric in the song, which was all about sensing into the dream. Sometimes it's a waking dream. Sometimes I'll just be out and then all of a sudden there's some bird that doesn't belong in my neighborhood. All of a sudden I'll see a heron or an egret. Like, what are you doing here? So to me, that's like a waking dream. And so that becomes a lyric. I had one dream once. So this is from Turning Into Normal, the song Turning Into Normal, What Once Felt Strange, right? The dream was being in the desert and driving down this dusty road. And that was the dream image. But in waking life, I'm just walking in the park and there's a tree root and there's like a chain embedded in the dirt. And now I know the chain at some point was used to hold a trash can that didn't get stolen, but it was just this chain in the dirt. And somehow the image of the chain and the dirt, the colors of the dirt, the quality of the dirt, the way there was like the roots made a channel, it reminded me of my dream. And so that was like another waking dream moment. And so that became a lyric in the song, right? The chains. So it's this in and out of what do I see? And then what are the words? What's the poetry of what I see? Most of my music starts with the words first. Most of my writing starts with the words first.
That's so beautiful. I love how you have that connection between the waking world and the dream that's constantly flowing. And it really makes me think about how important it is to just be mindful in your daily life, because like you said, you might notice something beautiful that's inspiring that reminds you of a dream. And waking life feels like a dream sometimes. Do you ever have lucid dreams?
I am not a lucid dreamer. Yeah, I noticed you do a lot of lucid dreaming.
I like to ask people that because I'm just curious. Some people are, some people aren't,
Yeah, I'm not. I might have had a couple of lucid dreams when I was younger. When I was younger, my dreams had a lot more, magic to them in ways. Like I had dreams where I would speak French. Now I studied French, but I was never fluent. But I would be having conversations in French. I mean, I would guess maybe it was a past life dream. I don't really know what I believe, right? I'm like the least spiritual person you'll meet, right? So was it I don't know, but I did speak French in my dream.
That's cool. I've done that too. And I'm not fluent in French. I'm like you. I studied it. I speak a little bit. I could understand, but I had like a dream goal of wanting to practice in my dreams. And so sometimes I would have dreams where I was just talking French to people and they were talking back to me. And I feel like I was actually getting better and like learning some words, or at least honing in the pronunciation and like wiring that into my brain and things like that. And I would wake up being like, I just had like a whole fluent conversation. I can't speak that much French in actual waking life, but I feel like I just did. So I feel like I practiced.
Well, that's really cool. So I really admire that you can have that intention and have that happen.
I'm pretty open-minded and stuff, and I like to look at the research, but I do believe that like dreams can help you practice skills and like, burn things into your brain, So I was kind of playing around with that, like maybe I can get better at French. So I don't know. I still need to practice my French. So earlier you mentioned somatic dreamwork. Can you tell me a little bit about what that is?
Dreams have information for us. They're gifts that we give to ourselves when we're asleep. And especially for nightmares, right? The somatic work of working with dreams is a process to help connect with the gift of the dream. And if it's uncomfortable, if it's a nightmare, to get past the discomfort, then to be able to receive whatever the dream is there to offer. So I work with the physiology, resistance in the body, using, various somatic techniques to soften the resistance in the body, to not be afraid of or apprehensive of what might be coming next as you explore the dream. So that's how I use somatic work. I don't know if you're familiar with Leslie Ellis's work. She's an amazing somatic dream worker. She did a morning dream group this year at ISD. She teaches a lot about this. I did a dream group with her, and the idea is that getting into the felt sense, starting with the felt sense, that's an idea that comes from Eugene Genlin focusing, and I learned more about it through my training as a somatic experiencing practitioner, and starting with the felt sense as the guide for where to go in exploring a dream. And it's very rich. I mean, in my workshops, I've done this workshop a couple of times at ISD, and it never ceases to amaze me at how courageous people are and how deep people will go. You're connecting with your truth. Our truth is a felt sense. What we know is right for us is a felt sense. When we're afraid, it might be hard to know. Right. So if there's any apprehension or resistance to what a dream might be telling us, it might be hard to get to it. So we settle into a comfortable relationship with the felt sense, then we can receive it. Somatic means body-based. So somatic healing means healing is body-based healing, and somatic practices as a modality tend to rely on your sense of what you feel. So it's about having a relationship with your sensations. But, any body work is a somatic practice, right? Massage is a somatic practice. But somatic healing, as I'm talking about it, are these practices that come from regulating the nervous system, basically, nervous system regulation.
How would somebody approach dreams? Like, let's say they're having really negative content in their dreams and like negative emotions and nightmares and, have a lot of fear regarding their dreams.
So there's a couple of things. If it's really scary, find somebody to support you. always start by writing it down. And if it's too hard to write it down, draw it, right? But make a record of the dream. One, that helps externalize it. And two, the act of using your body in that helps dispel some of the charge. So movement, just generally, movement is a great way to help us regulate if there's some anxiety or stress or fear in the system. That would be the first thing to do. If you're working by yourself, then maybe see if you can identify the helper in the dream or the resource. And if one doesn't exist, bring one in. We're working in the imaginal realm. Well, do you have a dream? Do you have a dream?
A dream to share?
Yeah.
I'm sure I could find one.
I mean, we could do it. We could do a somatic dream work.
Okay, sure. Should I pick like a recent one or like a negative one, or what kind? Any certain kind of dream?
Any dream that you want to know something more about.
Okay, let me look at my dream journal really quick. I wasn't prepared, but I'm excited for this. Okay, so I had this dream the other day. I'm playing video games, but it's kind of like fully immersive, like I'm in the game. I'm not really lucid or anything, but I'm flying around and doing certain unrealistic things. I'm holding 3 controllers, like game controllers, and I'm kind of using them to manage myself. And it's like I'm controlling other characters too that I can't see in the field of vision. So I'm trying to manage all these controllers and like juggle them. So I fly into this building and I'm staying with this girl. She looks like Eugenia Cooney, who, if you don't know who she is, she's this girl online.
I know who she is.
Okay. So she looks just like her. Maybe I was watching her videos before bed. I don't know. But these bad guys.
I know who she is.
I know. I'm surprised you do. I mean, she's pretty famous. So yeah, there's these bad guys chasing me in the dream. And so I go to her apartment. It's like I'm staying with her or something. So I'm like talking to her a little bit. And then I remember that these guys are like looking for me. So I'm like, oh, I got to go. I'm about to jump out the window. But before I go, like, do you need me to help you with anything? And she's like, oh, I'm glad you asked, actually. I have all this laundry. Can you do some laundry for me? She has like all this messy laundry in her room. It's messy. She has 2 dogs. And I was like, yeah, sure. I'll just do it before I go. So I go I'm like, oh, like what's dirty? What's clean? And she's like, oh, just here. She hands me some laundry. I go to do it. And I'm like trying to help her out. So I'm like separating the whites and the colors or whatever. She's like, yeah, I thought you would ask, like, it's helpful. I'm like, yeah, it's the least I could do. You're letting me stay here, whatever. And then just a random dream element. She has all these colorful children's books that belong to her dog. And then I was like, okay, gotta go. So I like flew out the window. So yeah, that was the dream.
Okay. So first I'm just going to invite you to notice how you feel sharing the dream with me. Just take a minute to check in what's happening in your body.
It's really exciting. I mean, I love sharing my dreams.
Yeah. And so what I noticed was like, I noticed your excitement. And then when I invited you to notice, right, you kind of settled and you took a big swallow. Yeah. So if I was doing the workshop, I would invite you to write it down again, but we're not going to do that here because of time. And so I'm just going to invite you to just think about who is the helper in your dream. Is there a helper or a resource, an element of the dream that can be like your home base or safety?
Yeah, me staying in her apartment felt safe. It felt like she was doing me a favor by like letting me stay there for whatever reason. But I was helping her with the laundry. So I don't know, maybe me or her or both. I don't know.
Okay, well, let's just go back to you felt safe in the apartment because you named that first. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just going to invite you to sense into that sense of safety. And just see if anything softens in your body or you land or, just take it in for a moment, the sense of safety. And knowing that that's there for you as you explore the dream, you can always come back to this place, this sense of safety.
Yeah, it felt good. It felt like I had friends there, even though I was stressed about people chasing me. It's kind of like when I was there, it paused. Like they weren't immediately coming to get me, but then I like remembered like, oh yeah, I got to go because they're chasing me.
Now, if we were in the workshop, you would be invited to write down everything you already know and understand about the dream. And actually, I'm going to invite you to think about it and not tell me, but think about it as if you were writing down if you want to take a couple of notes.
Okay. Yeah. A couple things that I could think of maybe. But even then, I'm like, I don't fully know if I really do understand it or not.
Yeah, that's okay. But I'm sure there are things you already know and understand about it. Yeah. Impressions, associations.
Yeah, definitely.
And is there a specific element or character or piece or feeling about the dream that you want to know more about in this moment?
The gaming controllers were interesting. I almost like wanted to attribute it to me playing a lot of video games lately. But that one that one feels like there's more there for me to understand.
Okay, so I'm going to invite you to drop back in and imagine yourself back in the dream space with the game controllers in your hands. Take your time and slow it down. So that's a really important part of somatic practice is slowing down. It starts with noticing. Noticing is the first thing, and then slowing down. And what emerges as you slow down with the game controllers in your hands? Is it comfortable or uncomfortable?
It was definitely a little uncomfortable. Although I was managing, I was like struggling a little bit. I was like trying to control mine and control the other ones. And I was almost like couldn't hold them all at the same time.
Yeah, so let's slow that down. Just think about what you just said, right? I'm holding 3 controllers, trying to manage them all at the same time. Controllers. How are you holding them?
It was kind of like one of them was in my left arm, one of them was in my right arm, and then I had some in my hands. So I was kind of juggling all of them, trying to push buttons on different ones, and it was kind of chaotic.
Okay, so I'm going to invite you to do that with your body. You're pressing, you're poking. Do that a little bit and exaggerate it now. So if there's tension in your hands, exaggerate it. If there's poking, don't poke hard, but like really go in. And after you do that for a moment, right, you're engaging your muscles. Take a moment and rest and see what happens.
I mean, it definitely feels, and I kind of had this thought as well when I had the dream, like kind of like symbolic for just all the different things I juggle in life and trying to control. But it felt like I was like controlling other people or like other parts of myself that I'm not consciously aware of, like almost as if I'm like living other lives at the same time, other than just me. But I couldn't see the other controllers, like the gameplay or whatever. I couldn't see them. So I don't actually know what was going on. I could only see my own controls, like my own game, I guess. But I had the control, so I knew I was controlling them. They just weren't in my field of view.
And so what's happening inside?
Yes, I'm a little confused. I don't know.
Yeah, there's confusion because you're controlling something you can't see.
Yeah, and I'm like, how do I know what I'm doing? Where, like, Are they in this game? Are they in another game? I like didn't fully get it. But in the dream, I was like, yeah, it's good. I got it.
So what happens if you drop into that sense of I got it?
Yeah, it's definitely like a faith of like, even when I don't consciously know what is going on, that there's a bigger plan that like my higher self is aware of. And I'm just kind of going with it consciously in the waking world.
I'm going to invite you to sense into that faith that I got this.
It feels comforting and motivating as well.
We're going to let it land, right? So I heard there's still some uncertainty, but there's also faith.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what life is.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm just noticing like some movement came into your body, right? It just happened organically. What are you noticing?
Just the fact that I don't really pay attention to like the feelings of what my body does when I'm thinking about a dream. So it's interesting to pay attention to it. Yeah, like it almost makes me a little bit nervous, which makes sense because like I'm nervous sometimes in life and like I'm always thinking about like, oh, is this going to go right or not? You know, trying to control all the things. But then I just tell myself like, don't worry, you got it.
Right? So that's a negotiation, right? That's a negotiation with your pattern of wanting to control everything and your confidence. Got this.
Yeah.
I mean, this was just a little tiny, teeny taste.
I definitely like it makes me understand how powerful this can be. And I think even the mini version of it, you know, people could really understand that there's so many ways to look at dreams and feel your dreams and understand them. So it's really cool.
The value of working somatically is that our emotional experience is bound in our physiology. And when there are issues, by working with our physiology, we help untangle some of the complexities. We facilitate clarity, and we also free up energy. So what's bound in our anxious energy then becomes released, and we can use it for a creative energy, right? It's our life force. Our life force gets bound in our trauma. And when we can free it up, then it's there for us to have.
Yeah. This made me want to maybe I'll re-enter this dream if I can one of these nights. Because now you got me thinking about it. And I think there's more there for me to explore. So maybe if I can, I'll go back to it.
Yeah. Well, don't you find too, if there's something unfinished, it'll come up in a dream again.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I do. I totally have recurring themes in my dreams. That's so fascinating to me also to see how they might evolve over time. How are you doing? Are you feeling sufficiently complete for that with that little piece, or do you feel like there's more tending for your dream or your body right now?
I'm happy with it. I'm happy. I have a good mood right now. I'm excited. I love, it was very a good surprise to talk about a dream.
Yeah, they're amazing. I had an amazing series of dreams recently. Can I share with you?
Yes, please.
And these dreams, I worked with both with my own music and also with my creative collaborators, the Sonia Trici, where we do music videos of dreams. I had a series of dreams where I'm going along a road and I turn a corner. I had 4 of them. The first one, I'm walking down a dry flood channel, and to the left of me is nothing, just spaciousness and light. And to the right of me is an embankment covered with small pebbles. And right where the riverbed curves is a tree line, all different kinds of trees too, all different sizes and shapes. And I realized that I got to get out of this, that there's a flood's going to come and I'm going to be washed away. So I scramble up the embankment to the tree line. That was the first dream. Second dream I had at the conference. I'm walking down the street and I'm with a friend, and a character who was the jester, joker, fool archetype rides a bike in front of me and I can't cross the street. And eventually I get across the street and then I'm going to turn the corner. I wake up. So that was my second dream with turning the corner. That was in a city street in a neighborhood I grew up in. Then I had a third dream where my friend's husband is driving me in a van and he turns a corner into a hotel parking lot. Then I had a fourth dream, and this dream happened, right before the war in Israel and Gaza. Is I'm on a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean, or it's supposed to be the Pacific Ocean, and I turn the corner. I'm going to go down the cliff, and the water is rushing up the cliff. Right from the ocean, it's going up the cliff. But all 4 of these dreams involve turning a corner. What was so interesting, the first 2 dreams, I couldn't see what was around the corner. And these happened over a period of months. The first dream with the tree line, I realized, oh, this is me. I'm on my journey. I'm getting ready to turn a corner. And I was prepared to turn a corner professionally. And I recognized that the tree line, those are my people. That's where I'm going to be safe. And it really spoke to me about the importance of community and collaboration, that was going to be my safe space. And I had that dream before getting involved in a new way with my healing community, right? Showing up as an assistant and training. So being part of a bigger community. Also, my involvement with IASD was being part of a bigger community. And my music community, because this dream was in advance of this big sonic installation dreaming together. So here's my tree line, all my community. And by the last 2 dreams, I can see where I'm going, even though I'm still turning a corner. And, these are still dreams that are with me, but it was just so beautiful to see the quality change, even though here I am turning a corner every time. And at first, I didn't know what direction I was going in. I didn't know what was on the other side of that corner. There was apprehension, right? I was scared that flood was going to come down that channel. But I knew that if I got to the tree line, I would be safe. And once I got that opened up the dream. So the following dreams, at least I could see what direction I was going in.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the progression of the clarity that you got in each part.
Yeah. And I attribute working with other people.
I relate to that. When I started sharing my dreams and hearing other people's stories and joining the community, my dreams kind of just skyrocketed and my motivation for dream work just really expanded from there. So that it is really such a huge thing to be able to talk to people about dreams.
Yeah.
Cool.
Amina, what else do you do?
So I do graphic design mostly. That's like my day job. That's what I do now. But I studied psychology in college. So I was always into like consciousness and psychology. And now that I do the dream podcast and stuff, I'm kind of shifting back towards that as like a career path. But it's hard because it's like so new and it's like, I don't know how to make money with this whole dream thing. I just do it because I love it. But yeah, I mostly just do the podcast. I'm just trying to be consistent with it and see where it takes me, I guess. This path has led me to now become a certified lucid dream coach. So I have personal classes for that. I do workshops and I have an online course. So I'm really just trying to expand my knowledge in this field and build a community. I plan on going back to school for my PhD, but for now I'm really just sticking with the podcast and doing what I love, which is talking to people about dreams.
Yeah, we've done a lot of episodes.
I have, and it wasn't very consistent. Like I would just kind of do it as a hobby in my spare time. And sometimes I don't give myself enough credit. I think that, like you said, there's not that many like podcasts and things. I mean, there's some, but I want to be like a reliable resource for people. So even if I'm not making money off of it, I'm doing it because I just love doing it. So, yeah.
Well, I'm sure you're talking to, I know, because I've listened to some, you're talking to some very interesting people.
Yeah, I love it. I love getting new guests and hearing different perspectives. And the IASD conference helped me meet so many people that I'm just like, oh, you should go on my podcast. You should go on my podcast. I have to hear your story. So it's like, oh my God, I'm just like so inspired. I have like so many guests that I want to bring on. So yeah. What about you? What goals do you have, or like where are you going, planning and anything in the future related to dream work?
We are hoping to do another sonic installation for the art show. I need to figure out the tech since I'm not going to be there to do it. So I need to see if I can find a way to stream it, right? Maybe a friend can bring the speaker for me. So I'm hoping to be able to do that, to coordinate another sonic installation for the art. That would be the third one. The first one we did was the Ocean Dreams, where we had samples of whale songs recorded by a marine biologist who works with the whales in Baja California. So he sent us recordings he made of whale songs, and we set those to music. And the theme for the dreamers was ocean dreams. So people were sending dreams that they had about the ocean. So that was the installation we did in Tucson. Oh my God. So you want to hear a funny dream story?
Yeah.
So this happened in Tucson. So before I went to Tucson, I had this dream. And in the dream, I look under the bed and there were two cats, a tabby cat and a black cat, kittens, like little cats, and they had their prey under the bed. So that was my dream. And I was working with that dream. I actually went to an art workshop and I drew out the dream, and I was working with that dream this day that this happened. Now, this is at, the hotel in Tucson where a conference is happening, right? It's filled with people. And I'm walking from wherever the rooms are, the conference rooms, back to my room. I have to go all the way across the lobby. It's a long walk, and I'm walking along the lobby. And you know how it is at these conferences, you see all kinds of people. All of a sudden, walking in the opposite direction are two women. One of them works at the hotel carrying kittens, a black kitten and a tabby cat. Coincidence or mystery?
Well, I don't believe in coincidences.
So just saying, that was so wild. I had the dream. I had just done the dream work around the dream, and here are the two kittens in the hotel. So just saying.
Do you have any like theories? You don't have to make any claims, but any ideas of how is that possible that your dream shows you an element of something you might see throughout the day? Because that's happened to me before and I just can't explain it.
Coincidence or mystery? It's, I'm okay with mystery. Being uncomfortable with not knowing is a skill.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's helpful. It's helpful to be uncomfortable, to be comfortable with not knowing. I'm okay not knowing. That's kind of the magic of life. Life is magical. Like, it could be completely meaningless, but it's our nature to make meaning.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. It really depends on the meaning we apply to things. And I think what you said is so important because there's only so much that our human brains can fully grasp and understand about like how the world works. And, science can only know so much about what it's able to measure and replicate and stuff like that. So yeah, I think I've come to that point as well that like, even though I'm excited and I believe in all these possibilities of things, like I'm okay with the fact that I don't know anything. I'm just a little human. Like, what do I know?
So I'm going to invite you to take that statement in the context of your dream, right? There was the not knowing of about what the other controllers are controlling.
That's true. It's like an inner trust and a trust in the higher power.
Yeah. There's a myth that we think if we understand something, we'll be good.
Yeah, that's true. And if anything, it brings more questions of things we don't know.
Yeah. And it could also bring you to something you don't want to know.
It's true.
Right? When you really know something. That's where the somatic work is really helpful because it helps us tolerate the not knowing and the knowing. Helps us tolerate the knowing. We spend a lot of energy trying not to know, not to feel, not to see, not to be with. But our capacity to be with even the discomfort and the uncertainty is also our capacity, reflects our capacity to allow in what is beautiful and life affirming and juicy and nice.
I was actually talking to somebody today and they were like, yeah, I don't understand what this means. And it's so scary. Like, but it's not that scary. It's just because I don't understand it. I'm like, yeah, exactly. We think things are scary when we don't understand them.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
They are scary when we don't understand them. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to be here with you. I really appreciate it. Dreams, like I said earlier, dreams are so much just a part of my life that they're integrated. Working with dreams is an integral part of my life, whether or not I'm dreaming actively or not. And they're there for all of us. Dreams are an integral part of all of our lives, whether we're paying attention to them or not. I just appreciate the value of being in dream community. That I think is really important. Sharing dreams, finding people to share your dreams with, playing with dreams, art and dreams. That's play, right? That's fun. And just knowing they're going to change too. Like if you're stuck in a dream pattern that doesn't feel good, it's going to change because everything changes. And then to be able to track the changes in the dreams is really fun, right? To see where growth might emerge or how you might show up differently in your dreams or how different symbols might show up differently in dreams or how your relationship to your own dreaming changes over time. Everything changes over time.
Yeah, that's true. I love comparing my dreams over the course of years. It's always so fascinating. I notice things that I didn't notice before, and then I compare it to my life at the time. And it's always very, very healing and very cool.
Yeah. Or dreams that like where something in your dream comes to pass, right? Just like this, like all my travel dreams. And then I traveled.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I tell people it's so important to write your dreams down, or at least the ones that feel important, because yeah, you never know. You might not have remembered it otherwise. And then when you write it down, you can compare it to the events that happen in waking life and like notice the connections easier. So where can people find you? I'll put all your links, everything in the description, but if you just want to like say it out loud.
So I have a website. My music name is SacJo22. And so my website is sacjo22.com. And my music is, my creative communities where I share and create music are CCMixter.org and Mixter Plus. I'm on Instagram as SacJo22, but I'm terrible on social media. I'm very intermittent. I'm around doing dream work and somatic healing and all the things.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to see you around more in the dream community.
I appreciate you and I love your enthusiasm. And I hope, everything you want the Dream World podcast to be becomes that.
Thank you. That means a lot.
I will share it on social media.
Yay.
I probably should share more. Like I have so much work out there. I've done a lot of music. I have a lot of work out there and I'm just.
Yeah, your work is great. That's why I'm excited to share it with people so I can guide them to it because I loved watching the videos and stuff. It was really nice.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, the Sonia Trici is really fun. That's fun. That workshop was wild. Oh, Amina, thank you so much. I really appreciate you inviting me to be on.